He joined ISRO in 1987. Vasudev Rao Kundi graduated from Vishwesvaraya University College of Engineering in 1999. Currently, Vasu is a group called Product Engineering Group with Pages Networks, responsible for product verification, automation, and system engineering. Vasu associated with the telecom industry for the past 13 years of his career. Post his 3.5 years of experience with Wipro Norton Labs. To deal with time and cost constraints, we have evolved one of the most innovative systems which has enabled us to achieve highest level of efficiency, performance, and quality standards.
I welcome, a round of applause for both panelists.
Shamal Galiga holds Electronics and Communication Engineering degree from Manna College of Engineering, Assam, 1985 batch. Completed post-graduation in Avionics Engineering from Anna University in 1995. Currently working with Alter Technologies as a lead consultant for the last 6 months. Shamal Galiga joined DRDO in 1986 through Electronics Fellowship course. After being posted in Naval Science and Technology Lab, a DRDO lab located in Visakhapatnam as a scientist, and developing various onboard condition monitoring systems for a few critical naval ships and submarines till 1992, got transferred on public interest to work on airborne early warning systems development program at CAPS, a DRDO lab located in Bangalore. Worked with Honeywell Technology Solutions for nearly 17 years after leaving DRDO in 1996 to contribute in the development of several safety critical airborne applications for major programs of a higher importance.
Thank you. Our final panelist is Dr. S. V. Sharma.
Dr. S. Venkateshwara Sharma, very well known as Dr. S. V. Sharma, is presently working as a Group Director, Program Planning and Evolution Group at Indian Space Research Organization, Bangalore, India. He has been working with ISRO for the last more than 27 years. He has contributed significantly in design, development and fabrication of satellites in various capacities during his service. Dr. S. V. Sharma has rendered his service at ISRO Satellite Center at various capacities, Project Manager, Deputy Project Director and Division Head. He is the man behind establishing Electronic Components Management System for space application at ISRO. Also, he generated very high quality specifications for procurement and usage of electronic components. He headed ISRO's ambitious program of indigenization of components and materials used for space application. In this capacity, he was instrumental in developing several technologies required to meet the space quality through industries and academia. ISRO handed in the challenge of developing a payload element called Space Grade Traveling Wave Tube. He took up the challenge and completed the development with industry support in record time. TWT is slated to be flown in next GeoSat mission. There are endless list of professional achievements to his credit. One of the important achievements is also development of application-specific integrated circuit for space application. In summary, he is regarded as one of the top scientists of ISRO. Based on his merit, presently he is designated as Group Director Program Planning and Evaluation Group at ISRO. This group is responsible for planning all the activities for ISRO satellite program and holds the key for progress. He has more than 100 publications in international journals and conferences. Thank you.
Once again, welcome all the panelists, and just for the sake that we are all on the same page, I would read out the subject once again. It is role of quality and challenges faced in achieving highest levels of quality standards in the high-tech industry. What is quality? Right? In the industry that I have been, I have realized that there is one word which has been very, very extensively used, and that's quality. But the sarcastic thing is that the only word that has been abused very much is also quality. So that is the way quality finds its entry into everybody's life. Just to give you a very small example of, as a student, it's very difficult for one to perceive what quality that a particular industry looks for, what are those parameters, how do you measure the quality, how do you use those measured quality standards in order to redefine your solution and products and so on so forth. Very simple example that I can give you is that, whenever I go to the market, I don't know how many of you go to the market to buy vegetables, I do it regularly. I go to the market and when I see, for example, a vegetable like, say, a lady's finger, right? I want that lady's finger to be absolutely fresh. Otherwise, I don't want to buy it. I don't want to buy a lady's finger which is aging, right? And I don't want to, my experience tells me that at a particular place where it is coming from a particular farm is pretty tasty, right? We all live for taste, so I also look for that. And of course, during the days, tough days that we have today, I also see if my purse can afford it. The price, that's a very important parameter. How do I do that? How do I test? One way of testing the lady's finger is to snap the end of it, and it has to snap just like that. Then you know that this lady's finger is good to come on my plate, right? So you also look for a lot of quality parameters, but you also have different methods of measuring that and correcting that. And if you don't get those measured parameters of quality, what you are going to use, then obviously you change, right? So quality is a very, very vast subject. It has nothing to do with the product or it has nothing to do with the process. It is basically to do with your state of mind. And there's a very beautiful one-liner on quality that I would like to share with you before I start the panel discussions further. It says the road of quality is not doing one thing 100% better. It is doing 100 things 1% better. Just mull over this. It will open up a totally different vista on quality for you. And before I again turn to my panelists here, Infosys today, kind of in the field of software stands for one of those high qualities. But in 1985, when Infosys had only 100 people, Narayan Murthy, somebody came to Narayan Murthy and said, I need to have a one full page of quality pasted all over the ground. He said, if quality is so important, let's not make it complex. And Narayan Murthy came with one single sentence with 3 words. He said, strive for quality. I still remember the beautiful statement which Narayan Murthy came up with. And we put that up in front of every engineer's table. If you don't believe this, in Infosys in those days, we also put it up in the pantry. Because we wanted the guy also to strive for quality and give us a better coffee at every time, right? So quality just percolates to those levels. And today I have a panel which is completely full house. And when I say high tech, I have people from different levels of high tech. And as the first round goes, we realize that we are going to have a very, very in-depth analysis on quality. It's not so much to do on spread, but it's absolutely depth. And without further ado, I call upon my first panelist, Mr. Narendra Rupa. He's going to talk about quality, as perceived or as it has to be addressed in a research environment, as he comes from a very rich research background. Over to Mr. Narendra Rupa.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Ankit. It's a nice setup for the discussion. Good. I think we are starting from research and quality. I think that's a good combination. One thing which comes to my mind is when it is research, what we normally think is coming up with new ideas, which can strike the chord with the customers, which can succeed in the market. So that's expected from research. So Steve Jobs, he came up with the touch screen and then what happened. So that's something which is a research responsibility of someone who can understand what customer is ready to pay for, buy. So that's something which has to be understood by the research, and then it has to see how it can ensure that such an idea can land in the market. That's the responsibility of research. Coming up with interesting ideas which makes sense to the customers. It doesn't look like it's going to be a straightforward job. Creativity. How many of you believe that by following steps 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth step you have creative ideas? I don't think anybody can say that. If it was so simple to come up with creative ideas with the following 5 different steps, I don't think world would have been only one Steve Jobs or one Bill Gates or one Narayan Murthy. It's not like that. It's not easy. You can't follow 1, 2, 3, 4 steps and fifth step can give you an idea. Typically, quality in research, quality everywhere, it expects that success can be almost predicted if you follow these means. If you follow these steps, then it is most probable, of course I don't say that it is 100% issue, it is most probable that you will encounter success. Unfortunately for research, it's little difficult. Because all ideas which are experimented in research cannot land in the customer plate with a lot of money for the seller. So there is a challenge there. And of course, there are people who have thought about this. I think most of you would have heard of Edward de Bono. Edward de Bono is a great mind. He says how creativity can be taught. Yeah, of course, I am sorry for using that word. He says that how creativity can be taught. So how one can be creative. So there is a way in which you can say, he says, okay, there are few tools he describes, and if you follow tool A, tool B, tool C, tool D, and then finally probably you have a list of ideas which have better chances of succeeding in the market. So that is where coming up with ideas is actually the first step of ensuring quality in research. How we can end up with good ideas. But good ideas, are they good enough? Because ideas are only still created in mind, but they cannot land in the brain of the customer yet. They have to be shaped, they have to be given sufficient food for growth, and then finally it will reach a shape where customers are ready to invest money on that. A touch screen alone, pinching, that is not good enough. You have to ensure that by using a microcontroller under that, a capacitive touch screen and the interface between that, lots of software written on that, what size screen, there are lots of things which are needed. Idea is not good enough. On top of that, you have to do a lot of things to ensure that it can finally land. That means there are subsequent steps. The first step was coming up with ideas. There seems to be already few brilliant minds which have spent some time and given a few ways which can probably be used to come up with interesting ideas which can probably succeed. Then taking this idea forward, because there are several phases in a typical research space. One is the exploration. We call it, the first phase is typically exploration. Let me just introduce all of them because we said exploration is one, then it is about proof of concept, and then finally it's about development. And then it has to be mass produced and then sold to the customer. So there are several phases in which you can bring a product or a service or whatever you say to the final marketplace. Exploration is the first phase. So for exploration, coming up with good ideas is the first phase. So how you can come up with good ideas? There are several ways. Then what about ensuring quality in the subsequent steps? What is the exploration talk about? Exploration is typically today, you know, how the market space is. Because if somebody can come up with an interesting idea, within few days there will be 100 people who can follow the same idea and have a cheaper product in the market. So how can you protect? Because an idea is good, but 100 people can copy you, and before you realize that there are people around, they have captured the market before you. So you have to protect your idea. Then there are mechanisms where you see whether somebody has already patented such ideas. You have to do a landscape of ideas which are around them. Getting good ideas and coming up with the landscape of what actually the market is full about, this you have to follow. And that means your chances of succeeding in the market becomes bigger and better. So now, because I think these steps, I am just looking into various steps which one can follow to ensure that the quality of your research can be certified. Yeah, most probably research carried out in such a research center has the possibility of succeeding or coming up with interesting ideas. So starting with good ideas, then about landscaping, finding out what A has done, what B has done, what C has done. Okay, then there is a gap here. A has not done this, C has not done this, so together that's where I will come up with ideas and then solve the problem. Landscaping, opportunity identification, these steps or these words are typically used in the research space. So we say you have to do this first and then identify where the opportunity exists and what is the size of the market, how big is the market, because we are investing significant money. I don't want to come up with the actual number, but typically a researcher costs compared to a developer at least 3 to 4 times in a multinational company. A researcher's cost is at least 3 to 4 times. So that means we cannot expect a researcher be just assigned a problem which has no potential to succeed in the market. So you have to do a lot of homework before identifying. So that's the next step. So that means where the space is. And then probably the next stage is to come up with a proof of concept. The proof of concept gives confidence for someone who's investing on the money. Yes, there is a technology which can solve this problem. Yes, there is a actual principle probably in a PC world or some other world which doesn't finally land. So there is a proof of concept. This proof of concept gives a confidence, and then you say, yeah, principle is true, a function is true, and now we talk about, so you are the customer, can you use this? This is a product I am talking about, this is a service I am talking about. Are you interested in this? Do you feel the look and feel of this? Are you interested to pay this much amount for this? So we have to do a validation of what the customer earlier we thought, no, the customer need, from customer need to the ideas to the opportunity identification, and then the case of proof of concept, then testing with the real end customer. Did you really want this, or are you ready to pay for this? Are you ready to pay this much for this? Under what condition? Or if you are not ready, then what else modification you need? So we follow such steps in research, where starting from the ideas, good ideas, ending up with a proof of concept, and then finally handing it over to the actual development team. Now everything is proven. Customer is ready, technology is ready, concept is ready, space is free because there is no competitor there for us to enter the market, and it is not that after 1 year I have a litigation to handle. Now the development will take, and these steps, when a typical research organization follows, the chances of succeeding is high. This is where the quality can be ensured when typically research works. That's what I would like to say.
Thanks, Rupa, for that insight into quality from a research perspective. In fact, what really baffled me, and I'm still looking over that, is that creativity can also be taught. This is something that we can definitely discuss during the lunch, and that's what makes things very interesting as we go on. There is, as I said, there are no boundaries for one's imagination. I now go on to my second panelist, Mr. Mahendra Naik. He is going to talk about quality as perceived by a consumer electronics company or a consumer electronics board. All over MP3s, all over music systems, and all of that, which are all our first friends in today's life. What is quality meant from an industry that gives those solutions? Over to Mr. Naik.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, I'll start with what I learned in my college. What were the quality metrics that I learned? First and foremost thing is cost, size, performance, power. This is the most important thing in any consumer electronics. That's what we learned. Yeah, this is what we learned. As well as, the time to prototype, time to market, as well as, looking at reliability, safety, how we measure. That is mean time to failure, mean time between failures. These are the things we learn, and these are still important even today. But major issue today is certain metrics which cannot be measured. People talk about flexibility. You should be able to add new features going forward. Maintainability. That is, that whatever you develop should be maintained for a long time. How do you make sure? Correctness we all understand. It's actually measurable. But these are the things, which are coming up, which are not measurable. And most important thing is durability was one of the things that we looked at earlier. But I was just thinking, that I have a Seiko watch that my dad bought in 1950. Even today, I wind it and it runs. And today I want to know how many of these boys and girls would like to keep their watch for 60 years. So what is important today? What is important today? What is that you look for? Yeah? You want it to be sleek? You want it to be sleek? Yes. And what is that you want? You want it to be sleek? You want it to look beautiful? You would like to look at its shape, size, right? So this is what you look at. And things have changed. It's not that somebody keeps a watch for 50 years. Why? Because today it's affordable. But metrics have changed today. What they are looking at is something different. And similarly, usability. This is again one more, very, very difficult concept, which can be measured. In my days, that UI developer was a very low-end developer. There was no value, he cannot do anything, he used to be a UI designer or a UI developer. Today that is not the case. UI carries the world today. UI carries the world today. Usability is extremely important. Let me tell you how difficult it is to find out, how whether a product that is being made is usable or not. I was working in a set-top box industry where we were developing a new set-top box. After testing for 2 months by experienced engineers, when I took it home, my 5-year-old boy, my son, could break it. Within 15 minutes, he could find 20 different words. It depends on the age. The old people, the way you use. The kids, how they use. How this generation X uses or boys and girls use. It's totally different. So this is where that innovation and creativity is coming into picture, and also how you perceive people use it. Yeah, this was I would like to talk about in the first.
Absolutely fine. A round of applause for. What is very interesting is that people who develop UI, right, user interfaces, were once considered as the last step in the ladder of technology savvy. And I think if it is being considered today as the most sought after application writers in a consumer industry, you can very well imagine the rate at which the consumer's perception of what a product should be is changing. I think this is something that you need to really keep in mind, and if at all some of you land in consumer electronics goods, don't think about writing the code of the software on your MP3 is the most important thing. Just somebody who designs the look and feel of that might be absolutely more important than that. I think with that we move to the next one, and here I have Mr. Vasudev Rao with me, and I'm going to up the technology space a little more from research to consumer electronics, and now I'm going into the space of professional electronics. The requirements that Mr. Nayak said as his customers look for the quality metrics might not be the quality metrics that user of a professional grade electronics users. Vasudev Rao comes from a product company. He is being associated with testing these products in and out. I will hand over for Vasu to take us through his experiences of quality in professional electronics.
Hi, good afternoon. A lot of stuff about quality I think spoken about. So, we are more product analysis. It's primarily about the user experience. Now, amongst all of you guys, I have one question to ask you. Right? Which phone do you think is best in quality? How many of you own an iPhone? Why? I can't hear you louder, please. Exactly. How many of you own a Samsung? So what does it mean? There is a perception, that's what Sanjesh was saying. Quality is a perception. Right? You want the best quality in the market, you will pay for it. Because companies invest their best engineers on it, companies bring their best processes on it, companies bring in their best components in terms to manufacture the product for us. At the same time, is there a market for each of these products? Is what the panelists have spoken about already here. Now, coming from this perspective, let us talk about an Indianness to this quality. How many of you heard of this word called jugaad? I bought this t-shirt about 4 weeks back which says jugaad. It's called an Indian synonym for innovation. Right? There's also a book about jugaad innovation. We as Indians are molded to work in a way called jugaad. Even in our homes, we try to work around things in a way where we compromise on quality. Right? We have defined quality as a way which does the job for us 100% of the time. Probably it could be 100 times, 100 things it's doing, 1% more at each, because as Satish pointed out. Or probably it does 100 things the way I want it to do it by compromising on the cost. Now that is a perception probably we as a product company in Tejas work with. We think we're taking a very practical approach to quality. Having said this, we compete with the best in the industry like a Cisco, or an Alcatel-Lucent, or a Dell Labs, or a Huawei. or a Nokia Siemens. Now, each of these companies come from different geographies in the world. Each of them has their own quality definition, not to forget about Fujitsu also. Now, what has happened in the past 10-15 years since the Chinese have come into the market is they brought the cost of the products drastically down. Now, does that mean that brought the quality of the product also drastically down? No. Now, in this scenario where the cost and the time becomes an essence for us to come out with products, right? That's where innovation creeps in. Now, what we do in Tejas primarily is we use all the innovative abilities wherein we define what the quality of the product should be when we launch this, when we take this product to the customer. Wherein we ensure that all the functionalities which the customer wants to see work on the product. Now, given the lifetime of this product is going to span for 10 years, we measure this product in terms of its quality and the customer experience. Where first time he sees the product, he sees what he wants to see. And during the due course of his experience of using the product, he sees it maturing in terms of quality, and in the process it's a win-win for both of us. Why? Because he gets the product at the cost he wants, he gets the product for the features he wants to see, as against the products he would rather buy from an MNC, where the products would be at a much more exemplary price, for which he needs to pay year on year in terms of his support contract, in terms of his the maintenance he has to pay in order to bring in more features into the product. So that's where we innovate a lot to ensure that the product is right fit into the market, where it's easily affordable to the end customers. That's all I have.
Thank you. Quality is a perception. It's very well defined and conveys a lot of meaning. And what really strikes me in what Vasu said is that quality is not just a process. Quality is innovation. Why do we have to associate innovation with always great ideas, path-breaking technologies and so on? The simple matter of bringing quality to whatever you do is also a very, very innovative process. I think with that we move to the next panelist. And I promised you right in the beginning that I'll go up the ante of technology as I move from one panelist to another. We now have Badiga who is going to talk about aerospace, where the requirement of quality, the perception of quality from the aerospace customers is very differently from what we so far have heard. Over to you, Badiga.
Before we start talking about how the quality is perceived in aerospace, let me first of all talk about what is the quality. For me, working in aerospace for several years, three things come to my mind. One is the quality means meeting the customer expectation. So you talk about anything like consumer electronics, or you talk about aerospace, you talk about space, you talk about anything. Unless you meet the customer expectations very properly, you are going to say that you are not meeting the quality. That is the first aspect. Second aspect for the quality is you need to be very consistent, and that is where, like others mentioned, you need to have proper process and you need to consistently deliver on whatever you are talking. That is the second aspect. The third most important, I think, it is irrelevant wherever you are talking. Quality goes to your heart. It is your behavior. If I say that my product is the best product, how much pride you take, that is what gets from your product. And coming back to aerospace, I think all the domains or all the sectors that we are talking about, the only difference between the aerospace and all the sectors, we follow the same quality standards of this. We follow the same thing like whatever is already other areas. Only thing that we follow most stringently in aerospace is first we have to deal with somebody's life. Aerospace has to do a lot with the safety aspect. That is where we do a lot of importance to work. And there are a lot of the departments, a lot of testing, a lot of PNP activities are involved in aerospace. But for that, I think if you are taking it to your heart, I think you are going to result a great job. And my team, I have been working in aerospace for nearly 22 years now. Before that, I was working in space, and I am consistently following the same thing. If you take these three things in your mind, I think you can result a great job.
fact, I used to for some time during my earlier part of the career, used to look at providing quality tools like CATIA for the aerospace industry. We work closely with those engineering guys there. I know how important it is to bring quality right at the stage of design. The very first sip of coffee that you take speaks about the rest of the coffee in the cup. So in an aerospace industry, it is so important that your design itself goes through those rigors of quality before it can mature into a solution or a product. I think Malika brought it out extremely well. And also he brought a different perspective to quality, which is customer. Somehow that word customer has slipped through and it came out very well in what Malika said. And who said customer is the king? It was not Bill Gates, it's not Narendra Modi, it's not somebody else, it was Mahatma Gandhi who said customer is the king. And I think quality gets defined by what the customer really seeks for. And now without further delay, I go to the final panelist on round one, Dr. Sharma. And he's going to bring us perceptions of quality as seen and as addressed to in a space technology environment. And that is where the conditions become extreme. The requirements of quality becomes almost to its 10% reach. And let's hear Sharma what he has to say about quality in space technology. Over to you, Sharma.
Thank you, Satish. Good afternoon, everyone. I know that I'm standing in between you and your lunch, but let me make it lively. First thing is the topic what Satish has chosen, the quality and challenges with achieving, etc. Quality, I think, has been well defined and well addressed by everyone on the panel. Currently, is quality is something which a product or something, anything which should meet the specification is quality. Okay? But there is another term which we are forgetting is the reliability, which is the extension of quality to the time domain. That is over the period of time just to sustain. You talk about quality as a person, quality as a equipment, quality as anything you talk about quality. So reliability also is a very important topic, and I would say that quality and reliability should go together, and that's how I would perceive this topic. Having said that, I was very proud. You see, first 4 years in 1985 student. And I consider myself to be a quality student. And I want to ask you a question. Do you all agree with me the panelists sitting today on the dais are successful? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Excellent.
Now, you better say no.
Satish is saying that because the 4 out of 6 panelists today sitting on the dais are from MCE 1985, first 4 years team. And we are the proud students of your principal, Satyanarayana. Okay? And you see, we are, yeah. So, with that update, Ms. Vadia, let me continue. So, quality, I said that it should meet all the specifications, and reliability is something which is time tested. So if one has to be really successful, it has to be quality and reliability. Do you all agree? Okay. So the panel is time tested. Is the quality and reliability essential. Let me continue with the topic. Space technology. And I also want to say that I am a very proud space scientist or a satellite scientist or a rocket scientist, whatever we call it. And today's keynote address was by Dr. K. Shankaran, and very well known rocket scientist. Okay. And then you heard quite a lot about the technologies which are possible, etc. See, even in normal life, whenever we are completely tired, exhausted, or whenever we look for some solution, we look at space, look at sky. Okay, is it right? Yes or no? Yes? That's good. So, science, space technology somehow becomes ultimate in adopting the best of the technologies. most challenging if you ask me. And ask me 2-3 questions here. Do you all think that ISRO space program is challenging? Yes? Good. Do you all think that ISRO's space technology is high technology? No? Yes, no? No? Good. It is very nice for me. For the simple reason, it is not high technology because we are not at the state of the art. Okay? Space industry always lags 2 generations back. Do you agree? Agree? Good. That is the reason. The first question was yes, the second question was no. Okay? The simple reason for that is the quality and reliability is not the state of the art. The start, it has to be time tested. So the space technology as such is 2 generations back. That's why it is not really the cutting edge of the technology, but it is highly reliable technology. Do you agree? Do you all agree that the space technology has made India proud?
Yes.
Excellent. Do you all think that we can do much better?
Yes.
Excellent. So we are in that process. It's a long learning curve. It's a long learning curve. We have gone to 30,000 kilometer geosynchronous orbit. We have gone to Chandrayaan, 4 lakh kilometer orbit. Now we will take you to Mars, which is nearly 50 lakh kilometer orbit. Okay? With that, we have all challenges. Whatever you can imagine in the industry, whatever industry you are in. We have to operate at the worst of the environment. We have to operate at the worst of the temperatures, the worst of the radiation. We have all uncertainties, etc. is there. So we really need the best of the technologies. If you all agree with me, we have, as Sandesh also pointed out, that we face the worst of the challenges, and we have the minimum of accessibility to the satellite or the space for any of the possibilities of prepared. So with this, being a proud MCE student and also a very proud space scientist, I will challenge you to ask me good technical questions on satellite and the space. All the technical questions I will definitely answer. Questions in the strategy can definitely tackle. Thank you.
You know what I really like is his definition of reliability, right? Reliability is nothing but quality on a scale of time. That's what philosophically we say Kala is time. Anything that stands the test of time is assumed to be of that quality. And what Sharma also brought out, you guys can think about it and I'm just a facilitator here, so I'm not going to expand on that. But think about what he said. He said the quality at ISRO is not world class. Why is it? Because he said the technology is 20 years back. Think about it. If the technology is old, how can you make quality absolutely modern or high-tech? So they go hand in hand. But think about it. Even if the technology is 20 years back, can you make quality absolutely high-tech, modern and up-to-date? I don't know the answer, but think about it. It's a nice way to get engaged in the panel discussion with thoughts that are so diverse and deep into the subject. I go to the second round and I request all our panelists to very briefly use about 3 minutes to sum up what they have already told us in the round 1. I would really look at the panelists now to talk about the second part of the discussion, the challenges. I would ask Omkar to.
Challenges. Are we running short of them? I don't think so. There are plenty of challenges for all of us, whichever domain we are. Maybe I am privileged to list some of them what I perceive as the serious challenges. Yeah, one of the most important challenge for any of these industry, because ultimately, I don't know how we can include ISRO and other satellite and space technology institutions. Most of the product and service companies are here to make money. They are here to make money, commercial benefits, and then of course you cannot make money just like that. It has to be through a formal and then acceptable way. So that is where the innovation comes into mind, because creativity plus market success together, you can define it as innovation. So for innovation and research, what are the key things? First challenge, I would say, is to understand what actually the unmet needs of a customer. What are the unmet needs of the customer? Understanding it, because customer is not knowledgeable enough. Customer is not knowledgeable enough to tell what is that he is wanting. However, the process which is followed in a research organization must be able to extract out from whatever has been explicitly mentioned by the end user into something which is realizable and converted as a success in the market. So this is one of the key challenges for a research organization when it comes to technology. So what is that? I just reiterate. It's about converting the actual statements of an end user into an unmet need which is not met, and how we can productize or provide it as a service and capture the market. So this process of converting unmet need to a product requirement, that's one of the key challenges. Of course, there are certain methods to follow, but all of them are not foolproof today. So these methods can only broadly hint what it is, however it is not foolproof. So that is one of the key challenges straight away. Second one is, once you know the unmet need, how you can actually convert it. Because this conversion has its own lots of challenges. One is the technology challenge. Technology challenge is only one of them. Because in technology challenge you have to also talk about the business model. So these two things go hand in hand. What should be the technology, what should be the business model? Because you can also, for example, now we know about the service which is paid, we pay for the use. There are people talking about pay for use of the service, and I think days will come when you not only pay for some of these products, you will start paying. For example, from my background I can say, you will start paying for the light. So it is not that you pay for the It's not that you pay for the bulb, it's not that you pay for the electricity, meter what you read, you will have to pay for the light usage. The rest of the things is owned by someone else. So such business models probably will come up in future. And that means that has to be first validated and the technology has to support this. So marrying the technology with business model, how one can do it, that's going to be a second big challenge. So addressing these two, at least at the top of my mind, I can straight away say that the challenges for a research organization which I represent.
Once again, beautiful of the years to hear marrying technology with research aspiration. I think a lot of us, when we get into quality and research, we remove the business aspect of what we are doing. I think bringing it in everything that you do is what the industry is really looking at it. Think about it, start doing it in your own studies, but when you get into the industry, it's not very important as to what you're going to do, but whether what you're going to do is really going to make a difference in terms of the business objectives of the company. Keep that in mind, and I would now come to, looking forward to hearing the challenges that exist in the consumer industry and go to life.
Before talking about challenges, let me come to opportunities. The product space, specifically in embedded products, be it healthcare, be it home automation, be it consumer electronics, is exploding. Billions and billions of dollars are getting poured. Okay. The kind of opportunities what you guys are going to have is too many, no doubt about it. But what are the challenges that you are going to face? I thought, that let me just compare with when I started my career, what it was like, and what it is going to be when you start your career. We used to develop products with no requirements, very clear requirements. We knew pretty well what we are going to do. But today, there is no time to freeze the requirement in consumer electronics. It is evolving requirements. It it keeps changing. You start a product thinking that this is what I'm going to do, but over a period of time, when you come out with that product, nobody is there to buy it. So naturally, requirements keep evolving. So this is a challenge. Time to market was not much of a constraint when I did my first product, but today extremely stringent. You need to come out with a product maybe in a 3 months time or 6 months time, otherwise you are not there. Okay, we had a well-defined process, what is called as the waterfall process, where requirements are very clear, they are very clearly defined. Requirement phase, design phase, implementation phase, then execution phase. But today, it is called an agile process. What is agile process? Building world-class product in a chaotic environment. So that's the definition. Please go and Google and see what is agile processes. This is what is being used in most of the consumer industries here. And most of the time, product that I develop for single function, today is evolving features and systems which communicate with each other. So this is a challenge. And when I did my product, we used to get extremely fantastic documentation, be it software, be it hardware. But today, what's happening is either you need to work on a product which is still in infancy. For example, a new chipset comes, you can't wait for that documentation to be ready because it is multi-core chipset. Rarely you get a document. That is one. And then when you get into the industry, it is millions of code, millions of lines of code which is already written, over which you are going to add feature. And in this world of confusion, you need to become an architect. So this is a challenge that you have. And in fact, it used to be ground up development earlier, but today it is going to be reusable components and open source. So this is going to be this is the basic thing you guys need to know. It used to be technology centered. You are techie, okay, you are there. That was the case, when I started my career. But today, that is required anyway, because that is what you have learned. But going forward, it is going to be innovation and creativity. If that is not there, you are not there. Okay. And also, that earlier it used to be extremely reliable system. Today also you need a 24/7 running system. Reliability is not compromised. But it has to be usable and it has to be user friendly. So earlier it used to be look and feel, now it is touch and feel. Right? So this is where it is.
Something that is a very important aspect in consumer electronics especially. Whenever my son asks me to go to an electronic shop and buy an accessory or something, I used to make the mistake of telling my son that you be at home, I will buy it come. But whenever I used to go, what he asked, for me to buy, in 2 hours that I go to the shop, it's already outdated, there is something else there. So I had to call my son and say, you asked me to buy this, but there is something else, what do I do? Nowadays I'm telling you, please go and buy this. This time to market is becoming such a critical aspect in consumer electronics, as I absolutely on the dot pointed out. Making your quality complete and ensuring that your product reaches the market on time is a very big challenge. And I think this challenge is something that people are trying to solve, and it will take time as they improvise on that. Vasudeva Hundi is first round spoke about the metrics of quality in a professional grade product company. He also mentioned about how customer expectations are for this product to run with zero defect over a period of 10 years and so on. When addressing this kind of an environment, what are the challenges that Vasu faces in this daily work? Is something that we are able to do.
Again, a question to all of you. Today is a connected world. Is it true? All of us are connected. So, how much you spend at least 2 hours in your day on a computer or on a phone connected to the internet? Almost 90% of you, right? So, that's the challenge we have. Now, imagine a scenario where the 2 hours you want to work, you are not connected. What will happen? Are you be happy with it? Now, the challenge what we have is, as a telecom product company, we need to connect the end user that is you, through a customer like a Bharti or a BSNL or MTNL, whom we buy equipment who are our customers, 99.999% of the time. That's the commitment we give to our customers. Now, having said that, each of the phones, the smartphones you buy, we change it once in 3 years, right? We want to change once in 6 months, probably. Maybe that's through the younger generation, or probably change the flaps. So it looks different. But the telecom service providers are unlike you guys. They're going to use that network for 10 years. Okay. Now imagine using a product I buy from a vendor like us. Is he going to use the same technology for 10 years? It's going to evolve over a period. Technology is going to mature, a new technology will come in. That's why the Satish shirt what he is wearing, right? It says Tejas Networks future ready. So we need to be future proof. Now let's take a use case wherein we're talking about a computer which we used in 2000, 64 MB RAM and 2 GB hard disk. It was probably on your smartphone today and probably 6 times or 8 times that scale. And the rate at which it's growing, rate at which the telecom traffic is growing, and talking about reliability, where we need to ensure that all the traffic is being carried 99.999% of the time with least amount of failures is the biggest challenge in a business scenario where we have a cost competitive customer, a cost competitive vendor coming from China, a quality conscious customer coming from US, Europe and Japan, and an Indian customer who's trying to compete with all of these and will try to meet the quality metrics which probably defined by the quality standards as well as the customer. I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. Thanks a lot.
When I used to be a student, when somebody said, you know what 5 lines mean, it never meant anything to me. It was a piece of rubbish information because as students we never scored anything above 70 marks, right? But today's students are scoring 98, 99, 99.999, and I get amazed when I look at the CET scores and engineering scores. So for you guys, it will be very easy to understand when Vasu says 5 lines, quality standards of 5 lines, 99.999. Think about it. It will probably open up few very good thoughts for you to follow over. In good Badiga has a slight shift in his approach. He spoke about quality requirements and parameters of quality from the aerospace industry. In the second round, he's going to dedicate himself about talking about such parameters and how they are addressed in the defense environment, products and solutions that we can make for defense industry.
On the lighter vein, I just want to say that currently our challenge is to get some questions from you. The last measure, did you hear what I said? Okay, the challenge that I really feel at this moment is to get some questions from you. That's my first challenge here. Now coming back to aerospace, or things, I think one of the major challenges that we have been facing was because all along I work in the products sector. So in the products world, basically the first challenge starts with knowing the requirements, customer requirements. Because many times you find that customers do not understand everything. You need to educate them, you need to do some kind of prototyping and provide them what exactly the product would look like when it is being delivered. So understanding the customer requirements and convincing them that is one of the first challenge that we have to face. The second most important challenge overall, if you really look at, unlike other industries in aerospace as well as in defense, most of the products they have got a lifespan of around 20 years or so. So and the development life cycle goes for around 5 years or so. So in the 5 years, you need to kind of understand the requirements, you need to design, you need to make all kind of things, including the testing, and you need to deliver. So maintaining that 5 years time frame and then sustain, continuing working on that, keeping the morale of the team also working with you for the same cause is another major challenge. So broadly, if you really look at from my angle, I consider three major challenges for us. One is the growth. I think everybody understands growth, what it means. Second is the productivity. You need to be, extremely doing better than what you have done yesterday. So this is the kind of philosophy people work on. The third one is the sustenance of your business. If you don't have the business, if you don't have the finance, you cannot sustain your business. So these are the primary three important challenges that we are facing.
Somebody can sum it up.
Yeah, thank you, Satish. I'm grateful that the panelists took up the word reliability. Do you all take the word reliability? Do you agree that reliability is important? Yes. So, my biggest challenge is the sigma of all the challenges posed by all my other panelists in different ways. Okay. Reliability in the space industry is the most importance, and as you all rightly pointed out, it is not really high technology, it is high reliability. Have you all heard of the word embargo? Have you heard of the word embargo? India is embargo. India is not denied this, India is denied that. Are you aware of that? Yes, no? Yes, no. Sorry. I think students should know about embargo. Okay? Embargo is something that the country will be denied of some basic minimum materials, components or technologies for development of the country. So, having said that, the biggest challenge for department like ISRO or defense or atomic energy is the embargo, that you will be denied specific technology or the component. I would rate that as the first. Next is, my co-panelists also point out regarding network, 99.9999% availability, etc. is there. Do you all think that Chandrayaan was a challenging mission? It was a tough mission. We have to travel 5 lakh kilometers. Good. So when we are traveling 5 lakh kilometers, the time delay in the signal transmission and reception from the satellite back to Earth is substantial. Do you agree? Good. So even if I miss one command to Chandrayaan, with 90, there is nothing 99.9999 etc. It is 100% of gone. It is 0 or 1. I don't have any other thing. I don't know other than 0 or 1. It works and it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, it is gone. Having said that, Mars mission, which is slated for launch in October 28 tentatively, it takes 40 minutes for one signal to travel and come back. Mind you. How much? 40 minutes. If I send one command from here, it takes 20 minutes to travel 50 lakh kilometers, and when the satellite responds, it takes another 20 minutes. It takes me 40 minutes for me to send a command and receive a response from satellite. Do I have any scope for doing any mistake? No. So this is the biggest challenge, that the type of systems we build in, the type of technology we build in, the type of autonomy we